There we go. Pull those around. And so if we start with the real basic, you know, we got an H ramp and a V ramp. Plug those into the inputs. H and V. Those are going to chain straight down the module. Johnny would give us a S mix. Submix? SMX? What are we talking about here? Anyways. We're going straight to the output. We're not seeing anything. Why? Okay, well that works. Green, blue, red. Oh, it wasn't on. That would help. Got to turn things on, y'all. I have the DC distro, and I also have a connection that goes to the Moleco board inside. So here we have a little bit of an offset blue background. We can kind of get rid of that. But anyways, we have our red line here, and that's our top shape. So I'm just adjusting the size. And basically, I'm hard panned to the left. And whenever you're kind of hard panned is when you're going to find a little bit of the wonkiest zones, but you can always tune it in. It's pretty nice. But here we have a really thin line, right? Very, very thin. And if I move the ratio knob and start grabbing a little bit more of the second input, we're going to turn that into a box. And over all the way on the right side, that's a little bit more where like the wonky zone might be. Basically just pull it back a little bit and then stretch it out. It's a very like compositional tool. So it would also like always help to have a proc feeding in. Allows you to add a lot of bias, and like therefore I could move this green box left or right. I could move it up or down. I could move the red line up or down, and things like that. But we got these really nice thin lines, and that's what I really love about it. It's just you can get really down in there. Now, it looks its best right now with that clean line. I would think we all can agree that that red line is very clean, very sharp. This is actually like another advance we've taken in like the key world, which is fun for like the architecture and the circuitry. But the more that I would pass these initial shapes or angles into, like let's say I took these and I went into proc, and then I went into DSG, and then I finally got over here, right? If I started making a chain on my way, that crispness is gonna suffer just a little bit, right? You're just going through a whole lot more circuitry. There's a whole lot more areas for noise to come into play, anything else under the sun. Depending on how big your system is, what's going on, yada yada yada. We'll just say that right out front, because I had things. This is the exact module we used for the Instagram and like Discord posts today, and some of those are the cleanest things in the world I've ever seen in my life coming out of a keyer in the analog domain. And other ones towards the end when I started, actually maybe some of the final ones we didn't even release, but even in the end of the first 4, it started getting a little bit dirtier because there was just a whole lot more like rectification and doubling and inverting and logarithmic shaping and this, that, and the other thing. That's going to just ultimately add more areas for any amount of like noisiness or unsharpness to come in play. So we got 2 shapes so far on the screen. We're like, where's blue? I don't see blue. Blue is behind red. Green is behind red. Red is behind, or blue is also behind green. So it's all the way in the back, the way we have it patched. So if there we see it kind of poking out the side of the green. There it is. And now I have all three of my shapes. And that is our basic stacker patch. Again, we could provide different angles for each channel. And again, this is still that very basic first kind of level of patching with stacker. It's basically just making quadrilaterals. We have 3 mini shape changers inside of here. So now green and blue, because it's now my green channel is leading down to the blue channel, so they're going to be the same. But now I have this more angular, right? Because I'm using these 2 off angles to make my quadrilateral. And then I can finally go and grab 2 more very obtuse angles. Excuse me, and put them into the last channel. And now I have 3 different quadrilaterals that I am making simultaneously. Each one of them, I still have the same controls. I can make it go very sharp this way, very sharp that way. Up here, I can do the same thing. Right, I can go very sharp. Ooh, look at that tiny little line. All the way to over here. Boom. Boom. Also, obviously, size is in here. What if we don't want red on top? Well, then we just got to take our output cables and flip them. They're just 3 different keys, right? They're not RGB. Don't think of them as RGB, and they're not RGB. Now green is on top, red is in the middle, blue is on the bottom. We know how to take this further. What do we want to do to colorize? Put it through a swatch. Done. What else can we do? We can take all 3 of them into SMX. Always a great colorizer. Take them into that top row, and then just take the 3 output channels. Tune every individual color as much as you want. So here we have our 3 quadrilateral shapes. We have them keyed out and, well, constructed inside a stacker. Then we're taking them, and since we don't want to be stuck in that RGB world, we're going into an SMX, which is our infinite color space expander. And we can change the color of any shape we want. Do we want this to be gold? Do we want it to be white? Do we want the green one to be blue with a maybe purple? Do we want the blue one to be pink, or, you know, anywhere in between? Boom, we're stacking, folks. We stacking. So that's the quadrilateral shape patching. That's the very basic, like, triple shape generator. I'd say next we want to probably just put in some, like, DSG. We'll start with a single DSG, and then we'll, like, build it out from there. But that's going to kind of take this idea of a very basic shape and start, you know, using more complex shapes in that ratio blend, which is going to be a, you know, that's what some of the videos that we saw on Instagram and Discord today. So we'll just repatch the inputs here. All my inputs are down here inside of angles. And I think for starters, we'll let 1 chain of signals go all the way down, just like we did before. So I'm only going to use the top 2 inputs. I'm going to say, let's blend that signal with, let's only look at 1 for a moment here. We've got, I'm doing this wrong. Well, anyways, let's just pull 2 of these on the output. So I'm only looking at the top channel here, and what I have, these are just very similar signals. That's the problem. Oh, I'm still going through SMX. I'm a crazy person. No one called me out on that. No one called me out. They're like, Nick, you never unpatched the mixer. We're supposed to start over. Here we go. So we have a DSG shape, and we're ratioing that and making this quadrilateral shape. Technically, we're using quadrilateral math, even though we're no longer using quadrilateral kind of signals, right? We're not going to make boxes anymore. We're not going to make rhombi or parallelograms or, well, no, not parallelograms. Nope. And we got something like this X shape on one side and like this kind of thing on the other side, I guess, right? Let's do that one. So boom, we got an arrow, northeast, and we got an X. And then we pass that down to all three of them. And we can change where the ratio is on each of them. So they're always like co-linked because they're being normalized down. They're always like sharing properties with each other. And blue, because of the way, again, we're patched straight 1 to 1, R to R, like top to top, middle to middle, bottom to bottom. We're getting that red on top, green in the middle, and blue on the bottom. So if you don't leave room to see blue, you're not going to see any blue. So we got to pull back some size on green, pull back some size on red, pull some more back on green, and there's our blue. Now it's in the mix. And, you know, get these all anywhere in there where any of them want to be. Now, how do we take this up a notch? I mean, this is very basic. We got a DSG, we got a stacker, we got an ESG. At this point, all we want is some animation. We want the new Syntoni Animate module. Check it out. Just came out, announced today at Super Booth. We got Bajas, we got DWOs, we got LFOs up the wazoo, right? We just need to get them in there. So what do we need to do that? We need a mixer. We got procs, we got VHS submixers, we got boxing hour, everyone's got mixers, right? Whatever mixer you want to choose for this is going to be fine. Let's just put it into SMX again. Why not? I'm going to take my two inputs into the top two. And I'm going to basically take two channels out. So here are my two channels out. Those are going to feed, again, the place we just came from. Inputs to the H ramp and input to the V ramp. And we're basically kind of back where we used to be. What we want to do now is zero this out a bit. And I want to turn channel 1A up, channel 2B up. And now I have, my signals are going in there. And we're making sense of it. Now what I can do is I want to add some modulation into those mixes. So I still have a third input, and I can use a different modulation for each channel right down here at the bottom. So I'm down here in the mixer. I plugged in my top two. I'm taking this channel in, and these two. I could use the same signal for both, or I could use a different signal for either, or for each. I'm going to take two DWOs. I'm going to put that modulation here in blue. I think I got the perfect size cable. So blue, I got a sine wave and a sine wave. And I'm going to take those in. Boom, 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 boom. Right here. So as I bring one in, and I bring the other in, those are those waveforms. Now, we're not necessarily in the ranges I want to be. Do we want to go LFOs maybe for a second here? Two asynchronous LFOs. Maybe scrolling rate. Get them to slow down. See what we get. I didn't do my voice warm-ups. How am I doing? Am I enunciating? Do I have good King's English? We're in the land of King's English now. No more queens. Oh, it's just the other one I see strobing, isn't it? So now we have a lot more animation going on, and all it took was just mixing some signals in with those ramps. We can mess with the ramps. We need more blue. Where's my blue at? I really want to get that black space tuned in. I was running things over with my chair. Those damn tight lines when you get them. Woo! Proc can help you get those tight lines a little bit easier. As always, Proc will make everything in your life a little bit easier. You know, for this, I just want straight mixing. But for other times, you know, you want that Proc in there. Let's add some feedback between these two channels. I don't know why my blue is acting up here. I think my blue is acting up. Let me check. That looks good. So, again, this is just having the same two inputs. We added modulation, but we're still chaining them all the way through, right? So each body is still being made from that same outline, as we can see, right? They're all chasing each other, and very much in that stacker configuration. Now, we have a lot of outputs left on DSG. I am also using technically these LFOs on the DWO. And I can, you know, mix and mingle those to fill up the rest of this. So let's try to like not add any modules, but just see what we can get for complexity. I'm like trying to race the clock before the sun goes down. I don't see the sun anymore, so it's about to get dark. So let's change that. I'm probably just going to start with all DSG. Let's just go. We got plenty of inputs over here. So we're just going to plug it up. We'll leave the DWO for modulation only. And now the thing is we only have modulation on the red channel. So what do I want to do for that? I'm going to steal one of my modulation oscillators. We can leave the one on red. And I'm going to move that up to modulate the DSG. Now, which one do I want to modulate? Ooh, let's do that one. Slow it down. I should use the other knob. There we go. And now play with it, right? Pumping this stuff through Memory Palace, you get it moving real slow. If that's your vibe, oh yeah, you know it. Slow down, Red. Come on. What's up? So I have no modulation on green, but we're making weird shapes in weird places. Like, I love how how much I can get very like artsy black space, like one little shape over here in this corner, this thing happening over there. You can get very, you know, your ability to make the shapes really small or big allows you to have just this tiny little detail in one little spot. Now again, we don't have to think about taking this module straight to the output as we're doing right now, and we will go through this, but obviously these are 3 keys. I have 2 FKGs in here. I could just plug these keys into being the key input, and the key input, turn these both to key input mode, and now I can put full RGB patterns behind red, a full RGB pattern behind blue, and a full RGB pattern behind green, if I can say all the colors without fucking up. Now let's try to add some more feedback into this thing. I'm gonna take an output of this channel, put it into proc, so I can really attenuate that down. Any mixer will do. I could use the 3rd channel on SMX, then I'm not adding a new module. Look at me, I'm so smart. So I'm gonna take channel 3, use that as a feedback processor for this channel of DSG. Just bring it in a little bit, bring it in a lot, let's see what we can do here. Make some stuff get weird. And also, like how I'm talking about having the back on the thing I was just talking about, being very like localized and maybe minimal. The fact that when they do touch, like let's say you're not seeing these shapes ever touch, but then when they do, oh, they're like perfectly doing that priority mapping is like such a like chef's kiss on the end of it. Now I started mixing in some of the other channels, and I probably shouldn't do that. Let's just let's try this. Nope, don't like that. Well, anyways, there's so much room to explore here. We can obviously, you know, if we want to take half of these out, what do we got? Some of the blues, move them over to this DSG. Let's say you got 2 DSGs. Now we got a whole lot more cross-contamination we can be doing. We can get even more chained DSG channels, even more feedback in there. Turn that blue up. We want less symmetry, we just turn that off, right? These are just all in our doublers. Do you want, how much doubling do you want? So let's move out of this zone. We started with the quadrilateral shapes, just taking angles, putting them in, making boxes, making different angled boxes, changing their orientation of width and height ratio. Then we switched over to DSG. Then we did multi-channel DSG. Then we did 2 DSGs. There's obviously, we could go with 2 DSGs. Look at that feedback in there right now. Oh my gosh. It's like almost mad at us. It is mad at us. Awesome. Anyways, we're going to move on to utilizing this as the single glyph patch, the single glyph maker, which is basically using all of the knobs to create one shape. And to do that, all I'm going to do is pull out all my outputs and take the very bottom output of stacker, which is the 3rd key, meaning these 2 keys have already been subtracted from it. So every knob on here, we should probably get rid of some of the feedback. We got to go back a little more basic for a second. All the first 2 keys, now that I'm only going out of the 3rd out, I'm only coming out of number 3, meaning I'm getting this key on the bottom with this one subtracted from it and this one subtracted from it. So I now have 6 inputs and 6 knobs controlling one single key. We got some feedback in here. That's fine. I'm down with it. But here we got knobs at the top. They have a priority to them, right? You got to leave space on this bottom channel. If you're doing the single mask out, you got to make sure that this one's kind of leaving a good amount of white space, because then we're going to be subtracting from that one with these shapes. So sometimes when it seems like the one shape isn't doing anything, it's because the one ahead of it has already taken up its space. We're actually going to start this patch all the way over. I just wanted to see if maybe we'd get lucky with that DSG patch. So anyways, let's start with 2 basic inputs. Let's get this feedback channel out of here. Done, done, done. We should have input here. There we go. So, my top channel is giving me this level of kind of like control and detail. I can make these little outlines. Go to the next one. I can make those outlines much longer. I want to leave some of that dead space in there. You always want, like, don't always take it to the extent, right? That's how this like single chain patch works out. Is like when you leave the room for the other one to do its subtraction and such. So and this is where if you saw the Discord videos or the YouTube videos, we made some like transformer looking skulls and weird like robot faces. Well, and we want to get to the robot face, we just want kind of one in the middle. Right now we have, right, like 2 what could be robot faces or something. So we want to mess with these doublers. Want to go up, boom, there we go. Now we want to start tuning with it. And we probably want to just like mess with some of these mixes. But you can make a lot of faces with this module, especially in this like glyph mode, right? This is the glyph patch where we're using all 3 quadrilateral keys, but only coming out of the bottom one because the top 2 are subtracted from this one, so it kind of contains all the keys. All the keys are in the bottom key. Let's add the other DSG in by just like feeding it into this one, maybe. There we go. Got some curves. Slow this down. Now, where are my curved lines coming in? I don't want those. I want angles. There we go. I wish I would have drawn the patch out for that skull face. It was probably too much to draw out. In terms of like too many switch settings and too much dumb little stuff. Now I want to be back there. Decepticons rule, says my dad. Thanks, Dad. My dad is officially not a colonialist capitalist fighting for American military causes, which Transformers are nothing but a psyop for. Did I get that right? Perhaps? But they're bringing back Beast Wars, Dad. Did you see it? I was really excited. I saw the trailer name, and then I watched the trailer, and I was very upset. Which could be expected. But Beast Wars was a cool cartoon. I think we need more inputs. Let's go. Maybe. Simplify it, less doublers. Try to make some like totems or something, right? Glyphs, totems, weird symbology. I don't know. Someone give me words. I will use them. Need some doubling, but not too much. No. There. Yes, give me a triangle. The blue key is always the most important. So that's basically, I was looking for this signal, because that's feeding that final key, which is taking maximum priority. Now, where are these ones coming from? The mixer. One from right here. Let's double that. Double that, double that. Woo! Look at those weird ones. We'll bring that modulation back in a little bit. Do I have modulation anymore? Do I not? What's up? No? There it is. Anyways, if you watch the videos on the old for sale site, there's a black and white one where we get a lot of really good shapes. And I swear it's nothing more than 2 DSGs and a proc and a stacker. We didn't even have the SMX, didn't have the DWO. We maybe had a Baja. Might not have even had the Baja. It might have been a very static patch, but very good facial kind of stuff. You've all seen the facial stuff before. Stacker's a killer at it in this glyph mode. Again, the glyph mode is any amount of inputs you want to have plugged in, but only taking that bottom right output and making one master key with all the shape construction in it. What do we have next? I got a camera here, so I've not done any external camera patching with this guy. So let's see what we can pull out of that. That'll be new for me, it'll be new for you. The only thing I haven't shown you that happened with, like, on the videos today was when the 3 different shapes were, like, floating around the screen, and that's just using mixers, right? You're just adding, like, phase-oriented mixes, phase-oriented mixes, waveforms, into the various mixes. So you're going to mix down into H and V, and you want to add something like quadrature, one channel to one, a different channel to another, or Baja. They're both going to give you like ellipses and circles and diamonds and things like that. So if you want to move things around, you just got to add in that little bit of like LFO bias. No big deal. Let's see what we can do with the camera. Getting dark. Before the camera stops seeing me. Probably should have done camera first, actually. So the thought originally was take Luma, output, black and white, picture of my face into one side of stacker, and then take 3 angles, making a gradient to blend the ratio of that camera width on all 3 channels, right down one side. So again, that means we have camera is coming down all 3 of these. We have gradients in the second channel. And then we're gonna take that output straight in. See what we get. Obviously, we know we can put this through SMX. We can colorize it differently. We can use swatch. We can use keyers. There's tons we can do. We want to get that raw look. What are we gonna get? We know we can add to it. So any of my ratio knobs that are kicked all the way to the right, get that thumb on camera, which would be this one, which is red. Looks like we just have a bar, right? But then as I get over there more, so it's all playing with that ratio knob, but you probably want to keep the ratio knob closer to the camera than you want to keep it closer to the shape, if that makes sense. There we go. So now we can... What do we want to do here? Where do we want to add modulation? We want to add modulation into the camera. Do we want to add modulation into the angles? Do we want to... Let's take the camera into the proc. It's a good place for proc because it's a triple mixer. And then I'm going to take A in. A channel is always direct in. This synth is getting dark. So the direct in means I'm going to get full value of the camera no matter what. So that's cool. So I can just take the patch I have right now. I can get the bias down the middle. Nothing's in B channel, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to zero it either way. And take the output. Luma. Luma. And Luma. So that's what we just had. Except I now have like a bias control. So I can mess with it a little more. But we're just getting a 3-band colorizer. The thing is that it is priority, right? We have that priority layering in there at all times. The one channel's never going to go below the other channel. The other channel's never going to go above the other channel. What wonderful sentence structure. Let's add some modulations. And then we'll bring those in a little bit. Let's see what we can get to change. I mean, I think that's what's really kind of nice is because you can have that one shape that's kind of just doing more of like an angular cut, yet it's still somewhat subscribing to the idea of my video image. Plus, the priority is always going to put it that if a brightness level changes in front of it, it's going to come on top of this big green diagonal bar, whatever direction it's going. One of these cameras is mirrored. I can't read it right. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of room in here to play. Right? That's pretty rad. That's a weird little... I mean, it's very simple, obviously. It's only 3 colors. It's very flat, but camera doesn't want to focus anymore. But it has like its own entity of being very, again, very compositional, right? This module is all about what you're going to do ahead of time with it, but the way that it works with its ratio and size controls gives you a very different type of hands-on control of the shapes and the things that are happening on your raster. So this can obviously go further. We'll do another stream. I still need to do a better ribbon stream now that I've like had time with it and things like that. I've really only had Stacker for, like, we patched today at work. So this was new, the video side of it. We can obviously like play with feedback inside of this patch. That would probably be really nice. You know, if I had a sum dist, I could like mult this whole thing out, feed it back into, like, maybe not use proc, but use SMX. Then I have a whole channel for feedback, dial in some nice little fringes, some nice little contoured blurs, who knows what. But I'm going to call it quits. That was our quick and dirty run through of Stacker. We did quadrilateral shape generation ×3. We then did 3 independent quadrilateral shapes. We then did DSG based quadrilateral functioning. We then did video camera input. So if you guys want to see more, let us know, maybe in the Discord. It's the only place that I look, but you could tell someone else to post it there, or tell someone in some other form, whatever. I'll see it. Who knows? Get your patch ideas out there, and we'll make your dreams come through and true. Have a good night.